Today, we're going to discuss if real player percentage was OP or not in NBA 2K22. I've run some tests, collected some data, and have enough experience on 2K to feel I'm capable of discerning if it was good or not. First, we're going to cover my own shooting from my only season where I used all 6 of the builds featured in this video for at least 10 games. I've decided to test my shooting against real player percentage to see if I could beat it. The results will not surprise you. We're going to start off with my two-way finisher. It's a 6'9" lock with only a 77 3-point. It's the second lowest 3-point I've used all year. The way I've decided to conduct this test is by taking 5 shots in each zone, with and without badges, while both timing my shots and using real player percentage. I'm going to keep track of the shots that I make in green while I'm timing my shots, and the total makes when using real player percentage. And we'll see how it stacks up against each other. Even with no badges, I was able to make all but 3 of my shots, and of my 22 makes, all but 3 were green. Let's see how real player percentage stacks up against that. Okay, so apparently the most OP feature in this game can't make half as many shots as I green with the 77 3-point and no badges. Let's see if that changes when we put those on. With my badges, I only ended up missing 1 shot, greening 80% of the total shots taken. Real player percentage did end up improving with badges equipped, but it still shot less than 50%. Here's a summary from my shooting test with my two-way finisher. As you can see, it's pretty lopsided for user timing. Real player percentage had 20 total makes, and as you can see here, user timing with badges had 20 greens, and user timing with no badges had 19. So individually, it couldn't even keep up with the fact that I was greening my shots. This is a summary of my total shooting using user timing, combining my shooting with no badges and my shooting with badges. I would say more, but there's not really much to say. I made pretty much every shot. I greened a vast majority of them, and while I had a couple of whites go in, it was only 7, so it's really not that bad in the grand scheme. Just shot really well. And this is a summary of the results from using real player percentage. Same difference with no explanation needed, just on the other side of the spectrum because this is embarrassingly bad. 40% from 3 in NBA 2K, especially 22 next gen. Not a good sight. You will be getting cursed out in the game chat if you do that. And for transparency's sake, this is what my two-way finisher shot in the rec over the course of the year. It's obviously not 90%, but in the same vein, I'm obviously not taking only wide open shots. I have additional help coming from badges such as catch and shoot and dimer for a lot of these shots, but I'm also taking more shots off the dribble. I'm also taking step backs, especially with this build, I take a lot of step backs. So they're different looks, but still, I shot better than real player percentage, even with defense in my face. Imagine what I would shoot with defense and real player percentage. Next up is the first of many two-way 3-level scorers. It's a 7'3" center with an 83 ball. We started off hot but cooled down along the way. That's one of the best and worst things about user timing. You can get hot or get cold at any point in time and could really impact your ability to make a shot. With that cold stretch, do you think real player percentage is going to be able to match my shooting? To nobody's surprise, it wasn't able to match it. It still wasn't able to outmake my greens, even with no badges. Let's try this test with badges now. With badges and user timing on my 7'3", I was able to get back to near perfect shooting, making 4 more greens and 3 more whites. The boost from the badges didn't seem to help real player percentage at all, getting only 1 more make from no badges. As I said before, I got off to a slow start when I was first doing this test with no badges, but in the second test you can see I improved drastically and had near perfect shooting. The same cannot be said for real player percentage at all. There's 3 main takeaways from this test. Number 1, even with a slow start, you can finish with an elite shooting percentage. Number 2, I'm an absolute demon with a 7'3". Number 3, I could not buy a white anywhere but the corner. The left wing, top of the key, and right wing only showed 3 white makes out of the 30 total shots. Every other white came from the corner. Every other made shot was a green. A positive about real player percentage here is that it was pretty average everywhere but the top of the key. The only thing with it is that the top of the key can be any zone or at any shot at any point in time. so it's not exactly a feature somebody should be relying on to make shots. It's definitely not something that you could be blaming for giving up made shots. And here are the rec stats for my two-way 3-level score. I'm taking about 40% of my shots from 3, so you can only imagine the difficulty and range that I'm showing off there. And now for the build you've all been waiting to see, a play shot under 6 feet with a 95 3-point. This went exactly how I would have expected for the most part. I only missed one shot. The only thing I'm kind of disappointed in is the amount of greens that I had. Obviously it's a faster jump shot, so I'm not used to it. Plus I never play my play shot. So I didn't green as many shots, but I made pretty much everything. That's what's most important. And finally, with the build entirely dedicated to shooting the 3-ball, Real Player Percentage was able to match my own user timing shooting. Spoiler alert, I still only missed one shot. I greened a couple more, but that's all pretty irrelevant at this high of a rating. And because I knew somebody would say something about it, I also tested Circus 3s. I have it up to Hall of Fame on this test, and I was only able to make 3. I greened every single one of them. I don't know what the complaints are about it, but here you go. I think we all agree that it was nothing more than fluke that Real Player Percentage actually missed one more shot with badges rather than without. Either way, you're not going to miss very much with a 95 3-point. And something that is unsurprising to me, but may be surprising to you, Real Player Percentage was not able to make a single fading 3. I even tested one in the corner at the end, the easiest fade to make, and it still couldn't manage to make it. So, I don't know what the complaints are. Real Player Percentage, even with a high 3-point, it's garbage. You are better off timing it yourself. There were 5 total misses, nothing to see here. As I said, I don't really use this build, but I shot a very nice percentage. Now we're moving on to my original two-way 3-level score. He's a 7'3" with a 7'4" wingspan for whatever reason, and an 82 3-ball. I shot decently, but I absolutely could not buy a white. My only 2 white makes came from the left corner and right corner. I actually ended up losing a real player percentage in a no badge test. There's no real good explanation for it other than I just personally shot poorly. Let's see how that works out on the next phase. My shot was feeling so off when I was testing this build that I actually ended up doing worse with badges than I did with no badges. But real player percentage did what it always does. It showed its true colors and showed that it's not a consistent way to shoot the ball. It shot so much worse this time around that I actually ended up still beating it despite having 2 bad rounds of testing. Here's a summary of all the tests. In every zone but the right wing, I ended up tying or beating real player percentage despite my incredibly average shooting. And here we start to see the development of another theme that challenges a common 2K complaint, which is white makes. I was only able to make 1 white that wasn't in a corner, and of my 24 non-greens that I took in this test, only 5 of them went in. While real player percentage averaged out nicely, it's important to remember the inconsistency it showed even at the end with badges. It's also important to remember the badges that can't be tested right now, such as catch and shoot and dimer, that increase your green percentage and overall make percentage when you're timing your own shots. And here are my rec stats for this build. With this build, I did a lot of carrying. With all due respect, I played with a lot of stinkers and randoms around this time. So I was taking some very difficult shots. I was even doing step backs on this build here, as well as shooting from limitless range, consistently. And for my final 2-way 3-level score, it's my Glitch 7-2 with a 78 3-pointer. So this was pretty bad. I pretty much intentionally fatigued myself by doing all of these tests back to back in a row, and this was right at the end. I just lost my touch at this point, but that's kind of part of the test, to test your user timing no matter the conditions. So I shot poorly this time. Let's see how real player percentage does. Somehow, some way, real player percentage found a way to shoot worse than I did that time. I still ended up greening more shots than real player percentage ended up making, which I find insane. I did end up improving the second time around, but I'm not going to attribute this to badges because I literally had to green every single make I had. The results of this build's test pretty much entirely prove my point about real player percentage. I started off really slow, but I improved over time and greened every single make that I had. Real player percentage made 6 out of 25 shots on a court that is pretty much entirely hot zones. If the disrespect wasn't real enough, I greened as many shots as my second test with user timing as I had total makes with real player percentage in this entire test. And to double up on disrespect, I only had 1 white make in the 50 shots that I took. And guess where it came from? A hot zone in the corner. If you're here at this point in the video and you see this abysmal test from real player percentage, I want you to point and laugh at RP% in the comments. And we finally have a rec stat line that is actually better than my open court testing. And for the final build I'm testing, we're going to look at my paint piece with the lowest 3-point I've used all year at a 75. This is another bad test, but this is definitely more of the 3-point rating being too low to be consistent rather than my own timing. I embarrassingly got smoked by real player percentage. I do not want to talk about it. I clutched it up at the end here, but it was still a pretty poor performance all around. Real player percentage ended up tying me on this test, meaning the worst case scenario possible for my ego. I embarrassingly ended up losing a real player percentage in this test. I still stand by my take that real player percentage can never compete with user timing, simply because you haven't seen the contested shots I've greened on people with this build. But you can check them out in my Season 2 highlights at the end of this video. There's nothing much to say here other than I couldn't buy a white all day. I don't know what the complaints are about that, but I can't get one. I don't know where you guys are getting yours. I picked up early on that a 75 3-point wasn't high enough to shoot the way I did with my other builds. However, I think this is a good enough 3-point percentage that it's worth it for the interior presence that I had. I have well over 1,000 rec games, I've reached 40 in every season, and almost all of my builds are shooters. If you're not willing to take my word on it on the basis of experience, then I hope this video will help you understand that real player percentage and white make percentage have never been OP in NBA 2K22 Next Gen. If there's one thing you take away from this video, I want it to be that you need to focus on your own play rather than blaming the game for any shortcomings that you have. So if you're getting outshot by real player percentage, you need to start practicing your jumper. There is no way real player percentage should consistently outshoot you. If you're giving up points to real player percentage, then you need to improve your defense. There's no way real player percentage is going to make contested shots against you. It barely makes them open. I'm pretty indifferent to the removal of real player percentage from 2K23. It's just disappointing to see the developers cave to such an obvious non-issue. This test was pretty straightforward. I'm sure 2K could replicate it themselves. However, they have the actual code for the feature in the game, and they should know themselves already that it's not that good. But it's become obvious over the years that nobody hired by 2K actually plays 2K throughout the year. They're just listening to complaints. I enjoyed 22. I think it was my favorite 2K of the last decade. I'm confident I'm going to enjoy 23 just as much. I just hope the cycle ends with the community blaming the game for issues that stem from their own gameplay, and especially the devs caving to those demands based on not knowing how the game plays at all. But I totally understand if nothing changes. In fact, that's better for me because I can keep making videos like this, debunking the nonsense that comes up in this community. In fact, my next video is going to be about how people think shooting's so easy in 22. I'll give you a hint, people still suck at it. If you're still watching at this point in the video, I'd like to thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, and subscribe if you're looking for more informative 2K content.